All right, we are back with the episode you've all been waiting for. We've kind of hyped it up for the past few weeks. We have a special guest today to talk about marketing. And this seems to be one of the largest topics or most pervasive topics in business and social media and all platforms today. So with that, we're going to jump right into it and why this means a lot to you, because there's a lot to sort through. I think there's a lot of things that people are misled around marketing, and there's a really dark underside of marketing that no one's really talking about that our guest is going to get into today.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of BizMeds. We are your hosts, neuroscience business coaches, and your automation experts. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darris, and always we are here to give you the minimum effective dose to cut through the BS and to give you the lessons hard learned in the trenches of business. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Kiran Patil. Kiran has come to us from across the globe. He has extensive experience in marketing, but also has an amazing and really interesting insight to the underside, the dark side of marketing that no one's really talking about that we'll jump into today. But first, Kieran, welcome to BizMeds. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Darris. Thanks, Saad. Yeah, I am a marketing expert. Moved here from Oman to Canada, so I have this international lens of marketing and how it works across the globe. I primarily ran cold email marketing agencies, white label SaaS, which I then sold, and it was a monthly recurring revenue company. It had automation in it, ads in it. It was a full CRM solution that I was marketing and selling. I had a content creation agency, again, where I worked with various different influencers and we optimized to hit virality. I had an ad buying agency, and just the understanding of all of these different channels of marketing has really allowed me to decipher which area and which marketing methods are the most effective. And just the idea that I've ran these agencies for the last 7-ish years has allowed me to see how marketing has really progressed over the years, as it has definitely changed as time has been moving on.
Awesome.
Nice, that's really cool. Kieran, first question, just kind of kicking off and getting an understanding of like what surprised you the most about how marketing worked in the UAE, and what are you noticing that is different in North America? Like, where the two markets fundamentally disagree and agree, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that. I think the main thing is the people that are in those demographics, right? So North America is more there's a cluster of different cultures in North America, whereas the Middle East there is a there is a cluster of different cultures, but there is hidden demographics that just are more emphasized, such as the Gulf in general. So when you're marketing in the UAE, you're pretty much marketing across the Gulf, right? The Gulf in general has a lot of British influence, so that's just an undertone there. So you will see slight British trends more emphasized. Just we have that huge UK touch there. And it's just due to diplomacy and just how the Middle East was structured in general. Another thing is that there's a high population of South Asians and even a Filipino demographic, and this changes again over the years, right? So before, within the South Asian markets, there were more people who spoke a different language. So there's a huge population of Keralites, they call it. So it's a specific area in India. So when you make content that just speaks that language, you get significantly more views. But then another thing with the Middle East is that there's a lot of income inequality, right? Um, and so when you are running these, say, agencies where you're trying to hit virality, but you're also cognizant that money has to be made, right? That's the point of a business. It's difficult to market to everyone there because not everyone has the purchasing power that you're looking for your product, right? Let's say you're selling a high ticket item. You can't really market to everyone because there's so much income inequality, which is why people in the Middle East, when they are marketing, they still target the G7, particularly North America, because I mean, in general, there's this high CPM rate, so it depends on which vertical of business, but in general, there's high CPM rates in North America. But another thing is just there's just less income inequality. The average person in North America has a higher purchasing power. So when you do run these campaigns, there's less wasted energy because the average person that watches this piece of content is a potential customer and they are willing and able to buy our product. Yeah.
That's interesting. So I won't ask the question now, but you did bring up something about virality, and so I think we'll jump into that one a little bit later. Now, in that, you talked a few things. One, maybe I'll get you to define CPM for those that don't know what it is. So if we have listeners that aren't really, they might be a business owner that like, hey, they just know the terms marketing. And, I'll say back in the day, when I had my franchise in Houston, and I, basically was sold advertising in a magazine, right? So in the early days, some of these terms didn't really make any sense to me, right? And also coming from a business where, in forestry, there was no, like, we didn't really do the traditional sense of marketing. So maybe we'll define CPM first. And then I think it'd be interesting to go from there, once you kind of define that, to talk about in the current landscape of the marketing landscape, is there a ton of fluff that's being, kind of dispersed through all the platforms that really doesn't provide value to business owners?
Yeah. Yeah.
Quickly, just before you answer that, I want to add on something else in there because I think this goes hand in hand is in regards to the fluff. It's the influential culture.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
sure you'll probably touch on that as you're answering the question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a lot. Those are a lot of follow-up questions. I mean, CPM is cost per mil, and different demographics again have different CPM rates. So it's essentially just the cost of for per thousand views, right? It's
Okay.
interesting because mil is more of like a Latin term, and for some reason we're following that in marketing. But I don't know where it stems from and how that got there. It would have been so much easier if they just ran with a different term, but that's just what's stuck. As for fluff in marketing, um, there is a lot of fluff, honestly. I think the biggest fluff is this idea of consistency. Like I feel like when you, especially in the content creation side, everyone goes like, hey, you just produce a TikTok a day or like a reel a day and things will snowball and things will happen. It's not necessarily the case. You got to also chase quality of content. You can't be making terrible videos and just be posting them consistently and things automatically work out. Like I've seen a lot of people because when I was initially starting content creation, I had like a list of like creators that I just wanted to see their 5-year journey, right? So I still follow them just to see, okay, did they make it yet? No, they didn't because they did not optimize their content. They did not analyze their content. At the end of the day, marketing is a very structured activity. Like realistically, it's like every other job, right? There's a lot of math behind it. It's very boring in general. And so the biggest fluff is kind of those elements of like, oh yeah, just be consistent or be authentic. Like you have to have those elements, but you also have to analyze your content, go back, have that constant feedback loop and see what's working, see what's not working. And again, as I mentioned, it's a timeline, right? Marketing has changed so much over the last 7 years. We've seen algorithms develop constantly. Yeah. And I know we talked a bit about culture there. Remind me how you wanted me to allude to culture.
It wasn't necessarily allude to it. It was just a really interesting, I guess, understanding of those and the influences of, and I wasn't aware that there was a lot of British influence in the culture in kind of the Middle East and that. I have been aware that, I guess in our journey in business, especially in the marketing area, there would be a lot of, funny enough, a lot of some of the marketers we worked with from Dubai would say, okay, you basically, when you're setting up your funnels, and when you're doing um, your qualification, right? You're going through, it would say, if you were from X countries, you're going to a no stream, right? You're automatically, because of those reasons you just talked about, right? Like in terms of having you might be you might be viewing the content and want to take action, but you don't necessarily have the money to make it happen. So you're not going to spend a lot of time. And there's a long list of countries that we would just kind of like blacklist, or just say, okay, we're just going to move those to, this other stream and not really engage with those, because it's not really worth the time and energy versus a higher quality audience coming from, like you say, G7 or more wealthier countries. So that's where that was. It's just really interesting to learn that. And so a lot of the response you had was a lot, I think, around the content creation side of marketing. Now, I mean, because I agree, I think we have always been of the mindset we're going to produce just quality content, and as best we can, and look at it and say, okay, what's quality? Not chasing views. That's something that we've never really done, because in the world of all the things that are going, kind of just an onslaught of I look at it and say, like, I don't know how many creators I've seen just basically take the latest trend and try to jump on it for the views and things like that. And so I'm like, okay, and I'm glad you said the thing about consistency. And I think it's consistency plus quality, right? Like driving for those things on the content side, right? So that part. In the rest of the marketing sphere, because we have like cold outreach, we have, warm outreach and things like that. Is there anything else that you might point to? And again, this isn't a loaded answer. It's just in your experience, is there any fluff that exists out there in the market or on the platforms around that side that you see? You're like, man, this is really not a really good value for you if you're listening to it.
I guess, I mean, there's different channels of marketing, right? I mean, in general, like one of my favorite channels is email marketing, right? It's just the idea that you can do cold outreach at scale, and that's pretty much the entire premise. At scale, it's cold. A lot of people use email, especially high ticket industries, right? Most of corporate America is on email. So in my opinion, that's my favorite. I mean, in terms of fluff on the other channels, I don't think there's a lot of fluff per se. A lot of fluff that does exist is on the content creation side, at least from what I've seen. Mainly because you're dealing with it's very B2C, right? And there's a lot of there's been like this proliferation over the last, like, I guess, decade even, right? Ever since kind of even the YouTube days, where like every kid, even adult, secretly dreams to be a YouTuber, or make a business out of posting random videos that they are passionate about, right? So a lot of the fluff comes from there, because again, there's like gurus out there that want to take advantage of that concept. It's like, you can quit your, I don't know, your boring job that you have or whatnot, right? And by leveraging these frameworks and continue on, buy my course, whatnot, right? So a lot of the fluff I do see is on the content creation side. I didn't see so much fluff on the other platforms. I think like if we were to go on the B2B side in terms of fluff, I do see it on the ad buying side quite a bit. Paid advertising. For instance, again, like when you get into like Instagram or Facebook paid ads, right? Um, it's it's sketchy. Like you buy an ad on Facebook. Let's say you put in like $300 in for an ad. And in the end, if you don't optimize it enough and you're just throwing money at it, right? And you're not doing A/B testing, you're not like looking at your offer, you're really not thinking about this. You just think that, hey, let's put money into it, there's more eyeballs on it, and let's see what happens, right? It ends up just hitting a bot network that I don't know who manufactured. It's very difficult to really decipher. There's too many bots, right? It ends up hitting them and then there's no conversions. I've seen this so many times. And the way paid ads has been marketed to people as like a solution to their problem is definitely an area of fluff I see in another vertical. I think like the most honest vertical is probably email. It's just too honest. Like there's really, it's not that complicated. It's just you're sending emails at scale to people that potentially
Well, I
care.
think
That's it.
is there a perception around email marketing? Because I think a lot of us, and I'm dating myself, grew up in the days where email was kind of becoming mainstream, and it was just, and it still is probably just as bad, is the massive amounts of just spam, like email spam that like comes through. And is it like, is there a perception that like cold outreach via email is just tainted because of that?
There is. There is. I think there is that perception. But when you like realistically think about it, it's also very easy to convince someone that this is a real form of marketing and there's effective results with it, right? Is like when you do anything official, right? Like, I don't know, sign a contract for a lease or like signing even like getting a client, right? You end up targeting email to communicate official stuff, right? And so that has really helped with that understanding, right? Because those are high ticket items, right? Like when you sign a lease for a new place, or when you are buying a new place, or when you're not, like realistically anything official nowadays goes through email. And so cold email doesn't seem as bad when you're trying to convince someone if it's actually a valuable source. Yes, there is a lot of spam, and different countries have a lot of regulation around spam. Like email marketing, I think like as a supplier, as someone who ran this business at one point, the scariest part is the regulations that different countries in the G7 in specific have around mitigating spam. Like Canada, I believe, has canned spam. And like the fines are insane if you do not adhere to their policies, like having a small unsubscribe button or whatnot, right? I think it's like a $300,000 fine or whatnot.
Wow.
I believe Rogers was in trouble for it recently. They paid a pretty high price tag.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, so cold email has its risks because we live in just areas with a lot of opportunity, and governments want to control that to an extent. But I don't think that perception is that sticky, I would say. But yeah, the perception that cold email is scammy or too spammy, because once you explain it, it makes a lot of sense for people.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to quickly hop in there. I think what I noticed the most is that when you try to get that cold email and that cold introduction and get that conversation started, it's in the first 3 seconds, not even, probably the first 2 seconds that you have to catch someone's attention. And one, there's two different things that you obviously have to stand out on. Is like, one, do I actually know this person or this company or whatever this is? Or two, like, what is this actually selling me? And if you can't do that in the first 2 seconds, at least for me, when I get any of those cold emails, I immediately move on. So how does, from a marketing perspective, like how can you actually mitigate that and actually be a little bit more, stand out a bit better?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I think the goal isn't even to mitigate that, to be honest. Like, the goal is to send emails at scale, and hopefully the email list that you have people that are interested in that particular service at that particular time, right? And then the copy and all of that, the optimization thing folds in. But the main thing, and like every email, like all email marketing agencies are not ubiquitous. It's almost like a commoditized industry, right? So they all kind of just do the same thing. But the main thing is really the email list, having as many potential qualified leads in there. Like you don't want to send emails to everyone, right? Again, throw a bunch of money. But you want people that are potentially interested in your product. So that interest is what drives them to click, because they have that itch to fix that problem, right? It's like something they've been talking about.
Is that
So like
not
the benefit,
just, I mean, when you say it like that, I mean, it is really the same as buying an ad, right? And because all you're doing is sending that ad out, and there's a ton of people who are just going to ignore the ad, see if they can exit, right? And then, so what I'm hearing you saying is it's essentially the same, right? You're just using a different method that might be a little more cost efficient for you to scale even more versus a paid ad, which essentially is doing the same thing. You're just hitting a large cold market. And hopefully from the ad side, you have enough creative, the hook strong enough, and you've done enough, testing and split testing and all that to make sure that when they see it, it's something that they're already predisposed in the moment to say, oh yeah, that actually is the thing I'm looking for. Boom. And I click on it.
Precisely. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. That is essentially what it is. And every email agency tries to optimize. And to add on what Saad's saying, right? Like every email agency does like cool things. Now that I don't run one, I'm willing to share some of the secrets that are in the industry about it. There's like tools where it kind of
Hold
extracts
on.
your LinkedIn profile.
Let's not jump in there yet. We're getting ahead of ourselves, right? Because at the end of the day,
No.
right? Like we'll cover that, but I think, we alluded to it early on, and we mentioned it in the intro. It's the dark side of marketing, right?
Mhm.
It's the
Right.
things that people aren't talking about, or that no one is really bringing to the forefront, that is impacting marketing or our perceptions of how marketing does work today. So maybe you can jump into how do we talked about, you brought it up, the idea of bots and these bot networks. And so with that, there's also this idea, we chatted about, previously, was dead internet theory. So maybe you could kind of like you really dumb it down. What is dead internet theory, and what the hell do bots have to do with that?
Yeah. No, that one's a huge subject, and I would love to touch on it. I have a lot of experience with bots because essentially, when you get into this rabbit hole of marketing, you realize that a lot of marketing has a lot of bots involved, and then when you start looking into it deeper, a lot of the internet has bots involved, and that's why marketing has bots involved. And that's where the premise of the dead internet theory really is the fact that the internet is filled with more bots than real people, and now you need to navigate marketing around that, right? So it's estimated, I believe, that 60% of the internet is pretty much dead with bots.
Yeah, I've
And
heard ranges 50 to 80%.
yeah, yeah. I would put it under like 60. And I think it's growing with the proliferation of AI. Like, I think it's just gonna skyrocket to like maybe that 80% easily. Like when I was running these agencies, like AI wasn't as good as it is now. It's phenomenal now. It is very capable now. It's getting more cost effective now, and so I only assume that it's gotten worse from here. But 50% easily, even before AI, was just bots, right? They were just poor quality bots, but that's what there were, and so having that experience with bot networks was really it was really interesting. But I mean, to even just jump right in, I mean, bots initially started off with this very basic ones, right? This is when like maybe 2012, 2013 days, everyone had experience with bots, like going to a website, getting fake followers, fake likes. So that was like the initial days of bots, having these accounts that are brewed in, I guess, like cost-effective nations, Russia, China, India, even Indonesia. These were like some of the places where bots originated from. They were brewed. And then so they were called SMM panels. They still exist today, and they've gotten very interesting. Like, you can buy likes from a specific demographic, from a specific gender, of a specific quality. There's a lot of filters around them, right? This is like the very basic level of bots, where like if you and Saad decided to go on Google, you'll find an SMM panel pretty quickly. You'll probably find a reseller, but the main ones are there's about like two big suppliers, and there's like trickle down of like resellers of resellers. So it's almost a network effect. But even these have gotten very interesting over the years because you can buy botted likes, follows, listens for any platform possible, like Spotify, like Deezer. Like no one even uses Deezer, but bots exist there. You can buy botted attention engagement metrics everywhere. So that was very interesting to me. I did play around with that a lot. I think just to play with the concept of board authority, which is very important in marketing. So, when running personal brand IG pages, honestly, bots didn't do too much to harm it. I guess another piece of fluff is that people think that Instagram, TikTok will punish you a lot for using botted traffic. And no, not really, because most of the internet is botted traffic. It doesn't punish you as much as you think it will. But anyways, the bigger step up, and this one not many people talk about, is the mother-child bots. And this one's super interesting, and you can get into a deep rabbit hole with. And this was my area of interest, and I did get into a lot of depth with this. Um, to preface, mother-child bot activity is illegal in most of the G7, so US, Canada, but people who supply this method usually originate from Russia. So Russia is a huge supplier of the mother-child bot networks.
What is a mother
China,
bot or
Yeah.
mother-child bot network?
yeah. A mother-child bot network is around the concept of having botted traffic, so children, funnel to the mother account and making the mother account as attractive as possible. So how that looks like in basic terms is you have a personal brand and that's the mother account, right? And then you have child accounts and you create hundreds of them, right? Like hundreds of child accounts, which are then given a target list source. So let's imagine you have an account that wants to compete. Like, let's imagine you're a shoe manufacturer, okay? And you want to build a competing shoe brand to Nike. So what you'll do is you'll build your mother account. Let's imagine it's called A Shoes, right? So A Shoes is here, and you get a scraper that scrapes all of Adidas, all of Nike, all shoe brands around the world, and you keep that list. Then you brew child accounts. So these are just like other Instagram accounts. These are bots now. The mother is the main account, which is a human, you, and you feed those child accounts this list. And what essentially happens is these child accounts are going to try to get that people from that list to communicate with the mother account. And eventually, what would happen is you might see a conversion and more followers hitting that mother account. That's the basic way to explain it. There's a lot behind it. There's more
Sorry,
intricacies, but
before
that's the
before you
basic
continue,
premise.
the maybe explain that again, because like for me, the way I understood that is you have your mother account and then you have your child accounts, and they're trying to make everything else look so bad that they have to go to the mother account, or they're just catching attention to feed it to the mother account.
Catching attention to feed it to the mother account. Like they
Okay.
will interact, those bots will interact with that list you gave it. They may even DM you to have a look at it. Like I've seen some implementations where it's pretty funny, but like they'll send a message like, "Hey, have you checked out this account?" And what happens is you inadvertently, like that random person who does get the DM will click that account for no reason and just have a look and then might swipe out, right? But just that having that attention from a targeted list, like we targeted someone, right? Like they were following Adidas, they were engaging with Adidas, and they clicked on your shoe brand, that will artificially tell the algorithm, like, hey, these sort of people are interested in this shoe brand, and they will try to funnel more into it and eventually lead to conversions, more followers, more engagement, more organic activity. This is proliferated to, like, this is a simple concept, However, governments are using this. It's proven that Trump has used it. It's proven that Biden has used it. It's proven that various political parties have used it. There's a bunch of university documentation about it. There's a bunch of people who've even mapped out some of these bot networks and created like very cool visuals around it. There's not several, there's a few YouTubers that have tried to uncover it. I think Upper Echelon did a really good job of it. And he showed the political bot networks. How the most proliferated industry that uses these bot networks on a consumer level, though, is the adult entertainment industry. It has higher conversions. People want to click in when they get that DM, so it has insane conversions. And quite most successful adult entertainers are using this and have used it and are successful due to this. But yeah, that was one of the more interesting areas of bot networks.
So what I'm hearing, Kieran, is it's all fake. It's all fake. So, I mean, because that leads me to believe then that most of the stuff that we see or kind of that maybe hits these viral trends or that is kind of like suddenly comes out of nowhere, I'm now thinking, okay, well, is this really this organic? I just did this thing and suddenly it went viral and it's become now taking a life of its own, or legitimately how many of these quote unquote trends or waves or whatever you want to call or up and comers out of nowhere were maybe the products of these types of networks.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we see are manufactured and artificial. And I think there's a lot of involvement by various people, right? The cool part about this is you have the same systems that governments use and you can totally use them too, which is, I think that gives you a lot of freedom, which is better than how it used to be. It is definitely like there is a lot of artificialness or whatever with going viral, for instance. TikTok has a concept of heating. This was well researched. I believe actually, TikTok themselves accidentally leaked it. So this is like very public knowledge. If you Google it, you'll see it. But essentially, there's internal documentations in TikTok that staff manually boost videos into your For You page, which bypasses the entire algorithm. So the whole concept is like, yeah, post consistently, focus on the first 0.7 seconds of your video. All of that falls apart for these videos. This is why, like, you will, when you go and meet people in social spheres, right? They'll always talk about that one trend or that one video that has gone viral, right? There's always like, maybe even per week, there's always those like couple videos that everyone in that demographic has seen, right? It's due to this concept of TikTok heating, right? And a lot of brands, a lot of influencers who have great pull from TikTok have leveraged this. TikTok themselves actually gave a percentage. I believe they did like 1 to 2% of content were basically heated, right? And I mean, to really understand how TikTok, IG, and FB work, right? Like these algorithms is when you post a piece of content, let's imagine I'm sitting at a particular zip code. What it does is it targets the first 100 people in that postal or zip code and then tests that content with them and then engages the metrics with them. Then once it breaks through with positive results, then it'll go with the next 100 and it'll create a bigger circle. So now it's a larger area, like maybe your entire neighborhood. Then it'll go to the entire city, then it'll go to the entire country, then a continent, and then it'll just go so on and so forth, right? And so people use bots to manipulate that as well. I used
Kieran,
to,
quick question.
yeah.
So there's a lot of information. Obviously, this is really great stuff. Thank you for obviously educating everybody here. But my biggest question is like, if the whole system is built on fake numbers and fake impressions, what is the one thing that business owners could start doing today that would help them stand out a little better?
Hmm. Yeah, I think
If you were to start
that's
again today.
I think what I would do is I would be focused on understanding what sort of business I'm running, what sort of demographic I'm targeting. really understand what I'm trying to do. There's a lot of tools out there, there's a lot of platforms out there, and there's a lot of solutions out there. A lot of people are confused on which ones to use for their own business. So the first thing is to gain clarity, right? Like a B2B company, I would say cold email is so nice. It's beautiful. Even cold calling is still not dead. It still works, right? So those are probably higher value activities to pursue than say like, I don't know, going on TikTok and posting something, right? And going through that whole because it's hard to create content and we all have limited time in a day, right? So I would say focus on high value areas. Um that would be my main thing really is to understand. And if I was doing B2C, then I would really leverage botted networks, to be honest. Like
Mm.
it's just so much easier. Within a couple weeks, you've already hit like artificial virality, or like even if it's not viral, let's say you get 100,000 views per video, all those 100,000 people are so targeted that like you are bound to sell a product that you wanted to sell on a B2C perspective. But yeah, B2B, and I'm personally more interested in B2B businesses anyways. I would just go cold email, create a good flow, and try to scale it. Go slow first, understand if it's working, and then just try to scale it from there. So there are like basically stick to the basics, more eyeballs, more qualified eyeballs, I would say, equals
So the
better
way I
results in
understand that
marketing.
is figure out like what it is that your product is, figure out who your ideal client is, and then choose like that appropriate method of outreach, whether that's
Yeah,
cold phone calling, cold email.
totally. Yeah. It's a boring answer, but yeah.
No, it's good.
Here's the
It
thing.
doesn't need it. Yeah.
We love boring because, boring is where the actual work is. Boring is where the results are. Everyone chases these, flashy things. We see it when we're automating solutions for people and doing things, right? Everyone wants to talk about AI. It's this big flashy conversation around AI. I'm like, 99% of the time, AI is not your solution, right? It's everyone's talking about it, but it's like the NFT of blockchain in the moment. It's not going to do what you think it's going to do, right? And you're probably going to waste a lot of money in it doing things that aren't going to go anywhere versus the boring work of, hey, do we need to be doing half the things that we do? Can we reclaim a lot of energy just from not doing the things that aren't required? And the rest of the stuff is just rules. We can automate the rules and free up way more energy and resources to go find more customers and, implement a cold strategy like either calling or email or whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
we love boring answers because boring is where the business is.
That's true. Boring is very important. And like when you really lean into that boring side, you see insane results. Like marketing is essentially just a bunch of systems. So systems are very important, especially when you're trying to scale, right? You can't have that chaos that a founder has. You got to just scale with systems, in my opinion. To really drive home boring, I wanted to mention I had a friend who was running a marketing agency and he was very fixated on one area of marketing. And his entire business in marketing was helping clients have faster landing pages. That's it. That was his entire business, and he was making multi-millions um, in monthly recurring revenue just running this. So he would go to big box retailers and sell them optimizing their landing page to just load like milliseconds faster. And that would contribute to insane amounts of revenue, like an increase. Like it was very, very clear. He was explaining this to me, and like I was running these like more like content creation, like slightly more creative, and I was like, wow, like really? And then he showed it to me. Like I went to him, and then he showed everything to me, and I was like, wow. And these were like really large clients he was working with, so stores that we regularly use on a daily basis. And it was like, is it that simple? It's that simple, just having a web page load faster, even, right? I mean, the concept makes sense. The consumer just wants to get a product and they want to get it fast. So whichever one loads fast, they'll go with that one.
Yeah. Awesome. We've covered a lot. Kiran, we can't thank you enough. This has probably been one of the best conversations we've had on, at least on our podcast around marketing. And we understand in the world of all of the bot networks that are pushing different marketing material out there, we may not make a dent at all. But at the end of the day, what we're hoping is that people love what they saw, understand it, what it is, take it for what it is, which is the quality behind it. That we're not just here peddling the same old stuff that everyone's talking about. We really want to dive into what is that other part of marketing that no one is really talking about, that I wasn't really even aware that had the levels that which you kind of went down to, has really caused me to think a lot differently in a lot of different ways. So thank you, Kieran, for being with us today. And with that, to all of our viewers who've been with us since the beginning, when we started 100 and some odd episodes ago, over 2 years into this, thank you. To our mothers, thank you. Sazbam, thank you. Love you. And remember, with all of this, we are your neuroscience business coaches and automation experts. My name is Darris.
And I'm Saad.
And we hope we gave you the minimum effective dose today. Another thank you to Kiran. And remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.